Hey everybody, it's your pal Globinaut and I'm back in Kerbal Space Program doing my second Mars mission. Now, if you've seen the last one, I mentioned that there was a few tweaks I wanted to make to improve it, make it a more smooth process and fix some of the issues that I had with the mission. And that's what I'm showing off today, along with some extra little bonuses. So we're just going to go over most of the improvements as we see them. The first being on the booster stage here, which we're launching to orbit. I added some solar panels for extra power generation while we wait for the core module, and I also added a command and control pod so I can have it hold attitude, and that just makes the docking process a little bit easier. Apart from that, it's pretty much identical. Now the core module's coming up. This has had a few little changes. I shuffled some stuff around. The primary item, of course, being those solar panels from last time, which burned off because I forgot to put the retractable ones on, so I swapped those out for retractable solar panels. And I didn't change much else because actually I was quite happy with the overall design of this one. And if you haven't seen the last one, this just gives the crew some space to live in on their way to and from Mars. And it's got RCS, it's got monopropellant, it's got some basic provisions on board, which are quite handy to have. This is where the changes to the booster stage came in handy. I was able to have it hold attitude, and I could just bring the core module over to dock. And this was a much easier process than last time because the booster was not so much in the way, and having it hold attitude just made it a lot easier. And there we are, we docked. Now the next modules to go up was a bigger change. Instead of launching a communications system and an extra crew space, I attached the communications to the extra crew space, and that gave me space then to pack some fuel tanks in this shuttle to bring up, so we could increase the total fuel capacity and therefore delta V of the spacecraft. This let us do a little bit of extra exploring and return back with more fuel, which was handy because I mentioned that I wanted to bring back the service core module along with the command pod, just for the Kerbals to have a bit more space and sort of roleplay lore reasons, right? So this extra fuel tank facilitated that, and it was very handy actually, because we could do one more thing with the extra fuel that we'll get to very soon. You can see it's a bit of a tight pack, but we get it all in there, and it's not a lot of extra fuel, but it was enough to make a big difference. We're just docking those on now. Here comes the crew, extra crew space, which as I mentioned has the communications attached to it as well. So we're just docking that, and then it's a matter of getting our shuttle back to Earth. You can see it's already taking shape here. Looks a bit different than last time, obviously the main difference being the extra fuel on board. And we're just deorbiting the shuttle now. Got some really smooth landings with this attempt, so I've slowed it down a bit towards the end, and I decided to get this shot here for both re-entries where you can see the ground track develop as I re-enter, which I thought was really cool. And here we are, back at the Space Centre, lining up for our landing. Had to do a sort of a basic circuit here for the Space Centre. Just prepping the shuttle for landing as well. Those air brakes are very handy. If you're ever building space shuttles, it's sort of a must-have. But here comes the landing now, right down the centre line, nice and smooth. Here comes the Wayfarer. Now, I'd used this last time to refuel, and that's pretty much the same. I did mention that I wanted to add more monopropellant to this spacecraft in the last video, but actually, upon rewatching the video, I found that I was just using too much. So I elected to be a bit more conservative during the flight, and that worked out quite nicely. I did consider using the extra space in the cargo bay there for some additional payload capacity. There are 2 more docking ports available on the design that go unused, so I thought maybe I could add some more fuel or something, but in the end I just decided not to complicate the redesign too much and iterate instead of completely redesign. So this stage is largely the same. Just bringing it over. The flying was a lot smoother than last time. I had a lot of learnings in terms of ensuring that the process of piloting this kind of mission was smoother, so all the rendezvous were done very quickly, all the dockings were done very efficiently and quickly, and overall I felt like there was a big improvement from last time in terms of the piloting skill and efficiency of each launch. Just returning this one as well, we get a similar process where you get to see the ground track, and this landing was a straight in, there was no circuit required, and this was a particularly smooth landing as well, so I slow it down so you guys can watch. I'd recommend atmospheric autopilot. It gives you fly-by-wire if you want to do some more smooth landings and have better control. And here we are, this is the landing module for the spacecraft. This will be the part of the spacecraft that lands and returns to the mothership around Mars, and this saw a few design changes. You'll notice, if you have a keen eye, there's a little bit of extra fuel on board, both radially and above the adapter. The extra fuel just made the ascent much easier, because if you've seen the last video you'll know the margins were pretty much perfect in terms of there was no extra fuel left over, so any wrong move could spell the end for the mission, which obviously wasn't great. So I wanted to pack a bit of extra fuel on board for, you know, wiggle room basically during the launch in case we landed in a lower area or we had to make some inclination changes or something like that, and that came in really handy because we did in fact land in a slightly lower area, and the extra fuel was just useful as well for another reason which we'll get to. I'm sort of teasing that. Docked straight away there. I did actually decide to still remove the booster stage. I sort of discussed the idea of keeping that to Mars as a deorbit tool for the lander, but I ended up rectifying that in a different way by adding a twitch engine underneath the heat shield that sticks out to one side. I'll post a picture because you don't really see it in the video, so I'll slap one on screen at some point and you can see what I mean, but I thought that was just a cute little way to fix the issue of, you know, deorbiting the spacecraft while the heat shield's deployed. We've got a really nice encounter here. It was much easier to do it this time because I had some experience. Last time there was a lot of faffing around with maneuver nodes, but it was a much smoother process this time now that I had a bit more comfortability. That's not even a word, but we're going to go with it. Comfortability, I like that. Doing the maneuver nodes. Add that to the dictionary, guys, if it's not already. It doesn't sound like a word, but maybe it is. Who knows? Reaching Mars here, one more course correction burn. I always set up course corrections. I find it a lot easier to execute missions in this manner. And here we are at Mars. Retracting all the doodads here so we don't actually destroy anything on the spacecraft this time during the aero braking manoeuvre, which is nice. Much smoother process. Didn't lose any solar panels or communication devices, which was very nice. Everything was working as intended. This time as well I went around for a second aero brake, just because I wasn't particularly happy with the first one. And we used the RCS to adjust the final outcome of that using the trajectories mod. And there we are. Coming back around again, I'm going to detach that inflatable heat shield and use the engines to circularise the orbit around Mars. Had a little control issue here. I don't think it was a centre of mass problem. I think there was just a strange thing going on with the game, so I'll have to look into that, but regardless, it wasn't a problem. Here I'm just moving monopropellant into the lander because I'm going to need that to dock when I come back. And you can just about see the twitch engine from that angle, but it's gone again. Setting up all my stuff I need for landing. Now, because the extra weight with the extra fuel, I did have to use the main chutes alongside the drogue chutes for the landing this time, which you'll see. But you can repack those, so it wasn't a problem. I think in the third iteration of this mission profile I'll add aero brakes to this thing, so I don't have to do that because it was a very, very close landing in terms of the speed that we were carrying very close to the ground. We actually landed in a sort of sandstorm here as well, which is cool. The volumetric clouds mod adds a few weather types on different planets, and the sandstorm is one of them. Regardless, they both get out. I also added a ladder, which I said last time I forgot, so that was another good little addition. And this time they're going to spend about a day on Mars. That just lets me line up the inclination There was a bit of a steeper inclination than last time, so accuracy is key. We got it though. It wasn't too bad. There was a little bit off, but the extra fuel that I packed, that's where it came in handy, right? Because if I would have done this last mission, it would have been a bit of a tougher rendezvous. But this time, the process was very simple. I also took a steeper ascent profile, and I think that helped a little bit as well. But definitely it's about 500 meters per second extra fuel helped a ton, because you can see it, actually my relative inclination was quite off, but no problem when you've got extra fuel, right? So here we are, just lining up that rendezvous again. It was a much smoother process. I've just got these maneuvers down a bit more. I think maybe I just ate something good for breakfast, or I don't know, maybe it was the practice, but I just felt like this was such a smoothly executed mission. Like, nothing really went wrong like last time. All the maneuvers were pretty efficient. I was happy overall. I feel like it was a very well executed one, and hopefully there's more in the future that don't go horribly wrong, right? Here we are, another smooth docking. And I've got to say, it looks so much cooler with the solar panels, man. Now, I play in sandbox mode, right, and that means all the buildings are upgraded straight away, but Custom Barn Kit, which is a mod that enables you to do some things with the Space Center, for some reason stopped my buildings from being fully upgraded, but it wouldn't let me upgrade them, so I couldn't transfer the fuel here, so I had to delete that mod. So if you ever encounter that, there's a fix for you. And there was another issue with docking ports. It's an age-old bug that hasn't been fixed. It basically stops you from undocking if you stage while some pieces are docked together. So to fix that, I just opened the debug tools and threw an object at the docking port, and that destroyed them, and that's why there's no docking port attached to the separated fuel tanks there, but they were going to be undocked anyway. And you can see Phobos, everybody. I noticed A, I've got a bit more fuel than last time, and B, I'm actually quite well lined up to get to Phobos very quickly. It was about a day for my Kerbals to get there, because it just worked out that way with the inclination. So why not have a little flyby? It's a very quick flyby. It's about 1,000 meters per second flyby, but we get to have a cool look at Phobos. And here we are. This is in real time. I did not speed this up. Absolutely rapid. Phobos is one of Mars's moons. It's a tiny rocky asteroid essentially, but super cool just to see that. I'd never been to Phobos in this game before, so it's very cool to see. You can land on it, not today though. I'd have to nullify my 1,000 meters per second speed there, and that's too much delta V to use. We're just burning home now. I've got a really good manoeuvre this time. I saved quite a bit of fuel compared to last time, so I was very pleased that I was able to bring back the sort of crew modules along with the landing can, which was one of my issues I had with the last mission. It felt a bit unrealistic to me that they'd come back in a tiny little Orion-sized capsule, right? I wanted them to have more space, as if it was a kind of a more realistic mission. So I was happy I was able to design it so that they can bring all this crew space back with them. I was really happy with it, and it just looks cool. Like, it's got this vibe, this spacecraft, sort of like a, I don't know, I just really like the look of it, I'm not going to lie. I think it looks badass. But we get this encounter here, and I didn't have any issues crashing on re-entry this time as well, which is really cool. I did fix the decoupling problems I had with the can as well, where it doesn't get stuck on anything, because I moved the solar panels down and I moved the RCS thrusters down onto the new fuel tank instead, so it doesn't cause any weird collision problems and stuff. But we're coming back now. Once again, this time warp just takes forever in real time, so it's nice to be able to speed the video up, otherwise it gets very boring very quickly. Removing ourselves from the extra crew space there, call it the service module, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And now we're just coming down, and we're going to decouple from the landing module as well, and that reveals the heat shield on our capsule. Back to Kerbin. Got another really nice sunrise re-entry here, very pretty. See the smoke in the top there of the other modules getting destroyed, but the heat shield's doing its job. And the volumetric clouds look absolutely stunning as per usual. And that was a much smoother mission. much smoother. I'm so happy with the result here. I'll definitely have 1 or 2 more changes to make, especially regarding the landing sequence and adding aero brakes to make it a bit easier to land on Mars, but the design's 100% getting there, and I think this was a much better mission. Getting to see Phobos was cool. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.